Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. A Windsor police officer has been found not guilty of sexually assaulting a female co-worker. But as the CBC's Jason Vio explains, the judge says this doesn't mean that he didn't do anything wrong.
The courtroom was filled with dozens of supporters on both sides, and after hearing that Staff Sergeant Ken Price was found not guilty on all 4 counts of sexual assault, Price himself quickly left the courtroom, took his suit jacket off, and left the courthouse without his family. In the end, Justice Jennifer Myers said the frailty of the complainant's evidence and the lack of confirmatory witnesses led to her finding. But the judge had a lot to say about Price as well. Myers says it's highly likely that Price sexually harassed the complainant. However, that's not what she's deciding on.
I just see that as sort of a standard comment. Listen, the courts never want a complainant to feel bad about coming forward and testifying. I don't read anything into that.
Even if Price likely sexually assaulted the woman, Myers says that's not good enough for her. She says the bar is really high for the Crown to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Price committed the offenses he was accused of. Here are some of the issues she had with the complainant's testimony. When she alleged Price grabbed her butt in an aggressive way in a work hallway and didn't even flinch, Myers says it made no sense to her and that instinctively there would be a reaction. She also had trouble believing that Price forced her hand on his crotch while she says she was helping him put on protective gear. That's because she says it appears impossible to wear the leg portion of that suit without the crotch piece already on. Now, these and 2 other allegations of sexual assault were said to have happened between 2011 and 2015. When it comes to Price taking the stand in his own defense, the judge calling his testimony unreliable and self-serving. She says she had a hard time believing his version of events. Now, the Crown in this case has 30 days to decide if they will appeal the verdict. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
For people experiencing homelessness in our city, new funding is making access to health care more sustainable. Jacob Barker has more.
The provincial government is giving millions to a program that puts physicians in shelters. The injection of funds will bring mental health resources, primary care, and critical supports to some of Windsor's most vulnerable residents. Right now, there are 11 physicians, 8 general practitioners, and 3 specialists at shelters across the city.
We have clinic rooms set up in all of the shelter sites, the same as you would see at any regular doctor's office. There's a medical table and there's a little desk there with a computer on top of it. We'll get a list of patients going and we see the patients.
According to Bondi, the $3.9 million in funding will allow the program to function in a sustainable way.
We can encourage people to continue to come in, and that is going to lead to improved outcomes, more preventative care, and so a lot less catching up afterwards, which is good for the healthcare system in general, because it means then we're spending less money downstream than we would be otherwise.
Bondi says the program is walk-in and no appointments are necessary. Removing barriers like these are important for people who commonly seek out support through outreach programs or at shelters. Last year, physicians took on more than 5,000 visits across the shelters where they work.
We've observed a reduction in emergency department use for issues that are now being addressed on site in shelters.
An example of this is a partnership with Windsor Regional Hospital, which makes it easier for people to continue with treatment that began while in care.
For example, if somebody is seen in hospital who's experiencing homelessness and they've been seen by the mental health team there, when they're discharged, rather than having to go back and forth to the hospital afterwards to see the psychiatrists, they're able to see the psychiatrist right on side with us.
When asked if the program will have support moving forward, local MPP Andrew Dowie says they will be looking at the data, but the government also recognizes the needs of people who access services this way.
Our government recognizes that we need to go to where the person is. We need to find the person where they are and offer them a service there.
As far as the future goes, Bondi says that they do want to offer the service at more sites, but for now they're focusing on making sure that what they are providing is good and fine-tuning the programs that they do offer. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for our first look at weather. Colette, how's it looking out there?
Well, it is looking like we will be getting some changes with these temperatures, but also especially with the humidity, as we do have a cold front that's moving towards us. And you can see just how sharp it is. We go from 30s, low 30s, upper 20s into, temperatures that are a good 10 degrees cooler. So that's the air that's pushing in. Yes, we've had some active weather along that boundary, although we're back into sunshine now, but into the evening, still some scattered showers and thunderstorms. 22 tonight, 28, feeling like 36 tomorrow, but it is the transition day. We will be kind of cooling down after that, Katerina. More details coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Windsor Regional Hospital plans to look for new leadership. This comes after news that it's losing longtime CEO David Mouget for good. Back in May of 2024, Mouget was seconded to London Health Sciences Centre. The expectation was that he would return. But Mouget announced today that he intends to stay permanently in London. His interim replacement is also set to retire next year. These significant leadership changes are happening as Windsor is also in the process of getting a new hospital. The hospital board says it will launch a recruitment process to fill the two roles later this summer. A business group says the Ontario government should rejig its programs meant to support auto businesses through tariffs and economic uncertainty. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business released a report that says that while provincial programs were created with good intentions, few small businesses plan to use them. At least a third are ineligible. Local MPP Andrew Dowie says he welcomes the feedback.
You can also reach me directly if you're saying, this is why the program doesn't work, this is a program that would work for us. I'm all ears, happy to receive. That's my role as a local MPP, to be our voice. And if our programs are not working the way that they're intended to, then I will carry that message back and see what we can do about getting some positive change.
He says the problem is less the tariffs themselves, but more so the uncertainty. The CFIB report surveyed 187 small to medium businesses in the sector and found tariffs are already having an impact, saying revenue has declined by an average of 13%, and half of the businesses have paused or canceled investments. Meanwhile, Canada's steel industry is in turmoil as it waits for the outcome of trade negotiations with the United States. The sector has been hit hard already by 50% tariffs by Donald Trump. Prime Minister Carney says he's taking steps to support the industry and its workers. As Ashley Burke reports, they include financial help and curbing steel imports from countries other than the United States.
A day after the Prime Minister suggested it might not be possible to reach a deal with Donald Trump that's tariff-free, he visited a Canadian steel construction company with a promise to help the industry battered by U.S. tariffs.
We become too dependent on the United States as our biggest customer.
Mark Carney announced new changes to stabilize Canada's steel market and crack down on a problem made worse by Trump's trade war. The amount of cheap steel foreign countries like China are dumping into Canada.
The combination of all these measures will ensure that Canadian steel producers have a bigger share of the Canadian market.
By the end of the month, Canada is set to limit steel imports from foreign countries except Mexico and the U.S. It's also investing $70 million to provide training and income support to affected workers and put $1 billion toward helping steel companies with projects.
There's a lot of good things that were announced today, things that will help this steel industry, but we can't lose sight of our primary focus needs to be reaching a deal.
David Fritz runs a steel fabrication company in Saskatchewan. A quarter of his business used to be in the U.S., but he says the value of contracts is going down and uncertainty is adding up. What he wants is a tariff-free deal with the U.S.
It's easy to say, just go find alternate sources for your steel supply. But we have long-term relationships, and it's hard to throw away those relationships or make a pivot on a dime.
Trump suggested today he wants deals with countries that include tariffs.
We have a number of them coming up, but overall, we're doing well, and we're taking in a lot of money.
But the Prime Minister won't say if he's willing to accept a deal with tariffs.
We'll see what the final agreement is. If there is an agreement, we're working towards an agreement in a constructive manner.
It's unclear how those negotiations are going behind closed doors. Carney is expected to meet with premiers next week to talk about all of this ahead of Trump's August 1st deadline to reach a deal. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
9 First Nations in Ontario are seeking an injunction against a pair of federal and provincial bills meant to fast-track infrastructure projects. Indigenous leaders say the bills are unconstitutional. CBC's Michelle Allen has more.
When the water's gone and when everything's poisoned, what are we going to have?
June Black says these bills put their lands and lives at risk. She's one of 4 chiefs who traveled from all ends of the province to the Ontario legislature today. They came to announce that they've filed an injunction application against Ontario's Bill 5 and Ottawa's Bill C5. Both are now law. They're meant to fast-track big projects such as mines, ports, and pipelines by sidestepping existing laws. In Ontario, this could mean opening up the Ring of Fire mineral deposit for easier development. The governments say they need these new laws to speed up development and counteract the effects of Trump's tariffs. Bill 5! The laws have been criticized by First Nations and environmental groups. They say it gives the governments absolute power to bypass laws meant to protect the environment and regulatory processes, and skip consultations with First Nations.
The bill and the law, as it now is enabling legislation. The first thing it enables is consultations.
The province says, we have begun productive conversations with First Nations who share our vision of unlocking economic opportunity and critical infrastructure in their community. But the chiefs are skeptical.
We are interested in development that is done the right way. The right way means protecting and conserving the environment, lands, waters, and species. The right way also means full participation in decision-making of First Nations.
The chiefs say their goal is to stop this bill at any cost. And if their request for an injunction isn't successful, they say they'll find other ways to fight back outside the courtroom. Michelle Allen, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's turn back to local news now with an announcement of a fun Windsor event happening this weekend. And if you're a dog lover, you won't want to miss it.
It is the return of the Dog Days of Summer. Another fantastic event in the downtown, a great opportunity for dog lovers to come to downtown Windsor. I don't mean necessarily everyone. We've got to put it out there right now. There are no cats allowed.
Ward 3 Councillor Ronaldo Agostino expects that Windsor's new civic space at City Hall Square will be crowded with dogs and their owners this Sunday, July 20th. The Dog Days of Summer event is a free celebration of canine friends. The all-day schedule includes an obedience competition, a howling contest, a doggy fashion show, working dog demonstrations, and many dog-oriented vendors. Organizer KB Singh, who's a professional dog trainer, says he wanted to provide a public event specifically for Windsor dog owners.
People want to do fun stuff with their dogs, but I don't think they have many opportunities to do it. So this was my way of trying to bring this out to everybody who is really interested and really loves dogs. I feel the most important thing for a healthy life of a dog is mental stimulation.
It's the second year for the event. Although there's no cost to the public, the fees for vendors to attend will benefit the Humane Society and the St. John Ambulance Dog Therapy Program. Dog owner Jamie Kavanaugh says he and his bull terrier Padme attended last year. They plan on showing up again in one of their many matching outfits. Meanwhile, Lissa Malosh uses her skills as a dog groomer to make her poodle Marzipan stand out in a crowd.
So this is about a 3-hour job, so applying the dye, washing the dye, blow drying, and doing a haircut. My husband would describe it as the fancy chicken. I just call her a jock with good hair.
Event hours on Sunday are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. All dogs must be leashed. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Nothing like a good dog story. A live look outside there. We do continue to track the heat, though, as Colette told us, relief is coming, which is wonderful news. And we do anticipate some potential rainfall later today, though that air quality has definitely improved since yesterday. When we come back, why the opioid epidemic is becoming more difficult to address. That's after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Canada's opioid epidemic is getting worse because of an unregulated drug supply that is continually evolving, making it harder than ever to treat overdoses and save lives. Paige Parsons reports.
Luckily, I've never overdosed.
Sober after battling a 5-year opioid addiction, Danielle Lake says she got lucky.
I've seen a lot of people pass away from this stuff, and it's like they say, a pandemic, and it's crazy how many people just are dying.
Once homeless, she's been able to get off the streets and get housing. Lake gets daily treatment at an addictions clinic in downtown Edmonton. Operators say the unpredictable cocktail that people using street drugs are getting is increasingly dangerous.
The illicit drug on the street has become very volatile.
People think they've taken something like fentanyl, but lab results turn up a mix of uppers and downers or new chemicals that don't respond to overdose reversal.
Even nasal naloxone, which is a lot stronger than just the injectable naloxone, that people are having to use multiple doses of that to reverse some of the drug poisonings recently.
The synthetic mixes make treating addiction more complicated.
So I don't know whether we're always able to keep abreast of what's changing, what people are using, and how we can treat those particular addictions.
Trying to stay on top of the evolving drug supply, the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Teams hired a forensic pharmacologist to track the supply and warn frontline groups about what's changing.
In the past, where we would see just a single analyte or a single substance in a drug sample, now there can be up to 10 or 12.
Even as Edmonton set an all-time monthly peak for opioid-related deaths when 87 people died in March, frontline workers say there's not much they can do other than issue warnings. Danielle Lake is looking to her future.
I can't even imagine going back to that. It scares me, actually.
With using just getting more dangerous, she hopes more people find the strength to stop. Paige Parsons, CBC News, Edmonton.
In international news, the Gaza Humanitarian Fund says 20 Palestinians were killed during a crowd crush at an aid distribution site in the territory. 19 of those people were trampled to death and another one was stabbed. Sasha Petrusik reports.
Frantic Palestinians carrying friends and relatives arrive at the Nasser hospital in southern Gaza. Doctors declare at least 20 people dead, trampled at a chaotic aid distribution site run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF. Palestinians are dying for a kilo of flour, he says. Hani Hamad was injured. I spent 30 minutes squished against the gates, he says. I passed out. GHF is an organization made up of armed private contractors backed by Israel and the U.S. It's the only outside group Israel allows to distribute aid in Gaza after kicking out the UN. It acknowledges the deaths but blames Hamas.
Make no mistake, this tragic incident was no accident. This was a calculated provocation, part of a pattern of targeted efforts by Hamas and its allies to dismantle our life-saving operations.
As its proof, GHF released a photo of a man it says is believed to be with Hamas, and a picture of a kind of pistol it says is known to be used by Hamas. Hamas denies involvement. But hunger has brought a whole new level of desperation to Gaza, and NGOs like Oxfam, which used to deliver aid alongside the UN, say GHF's model is mostly to blame.
The distribution, the militarized distribution system that is in place today is a very poorly managed and planned system. It is designed to hurt. It is designed to lack dignity.
The UN calls the system inherently unsafe. It says at least 875 Palestinians seeking food have been killed in the last 6 weeks, the majority near GHF sites. GHF says Wednesday's deaths are the only ones it's aware of. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Jerusalem.
After the break, we'll have Colette Kennedy back with us to tell us more about the weather in the days ahead. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, we've got another day of intense heat ahead of us, but with that day also comes the beginning of a change.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The changeover is coming, and it's not going to be as hot or as humid. So you've heard of trying to stay cool as a cucumber. I'm not sure if everyone's been able to do that, but how about we take a look at a cool bean instead with your coffee forecast? I think probably still an iced coffee is in store for tomorrow. We just take a look at what's going on here. We can decide what size we'll need in a second when we look at what the forecast is. How about 28, feeling like 36? Yeah, a slim chance for some showers, but with the timing of this front, the way it's going through, it's likely that that's going to be more to the east. What we're dealing with is kind of what's going on, has been today and into this evening as well. So based on that, I think we're still going to need some cooling because of that humid X factor. We'll take it to a large, but you suit yourself and do whatever you want. I actually had 2 iced coffees today, so maybe I didn't need all that caffeine, but there you go. Your current temperature, 27 degrees, 26 for Chatham-Kent, and we've got some 25s on the board, but then we factor in those dew points, and it does feel like we're in those upper 30s. And so the heat warning still in place, likely will be dropped by Environment Canada tomorrow, perhaps even earlier in the day. This is that boundary. The cooler air is in place to the north in northern Ontario, and it's pushing towards the southeast. There's been, of course, a lot of active weather. If we go in for a closer look, we had that cluster, yes, around the Windsor area, but really it was concentrated closer to Sarnia, between Sarnia and London, earlier in the day, and some of these are winding down. So if we just kind of pop in here a little closer and freeze it, essentially where we're at right now, yeah, there's not much here. There is this little bit of activity back to the southwest, and that's kind of tracking east to northeast. So I think we could still have an isolated shower, remnant thunderstorm coming through this evening, and then it winds down through the overnight, and there's a chance there tomorrow, but more so I think we'll have some cloud cover from time to time to deal with before we break out of that. And I'll tell you, once we do, we get into some nice sunshine as we head into Friday, and a more comfortable night for sleeping tomorrow night. Not the case, though, for tonight. Our overnight temperatures are still in the low 20s, so it'll be nice once we can get ourselves down into the teens, and that's what happens tomorrow night, okay, after that high of 28. So Friday, mostly sunny, 26. Saturday, yes, we get back into some active weather scenarios there, 28 for the high, 27 on Sunday. So the temperature's kind of back towards seasonal, Katerina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colette, and I will plan on that iced coffee for tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.